wherever you are, here on East Leeds FM.
Hello, I'm Helen Shay, a writer originally from Leeds, so have drawn on my local background in writing the drama you're about to hear. It was initially written for the 2020 Writing on Air when that pesky virus intervened. I've worked creatively, albeit intermittently, on projects with ELFM since their early days above the Seacroft estate shops, then after when they moved to the chapel. This is actually the final in a trilogy of short plays written over that time. The first was set at the time of the reconstruction of the Wesleyan Chapel in the 19th century. The second was set after it became Chapel FM. The third is set at the chapel nowadays. It includes brief allusions to the earlier plays, so giving a potted, quick background will help. The first play, Blood, Sweat and Sawdust, was written for the very first Writing on Air festival and recorded while the actors performed on the pre-developed site of the chapel, using the magnificent but dilapidated original pulpit, derived from which Chapel FM now has its own virtual pulpit. Set in the 1870s, it featured star-crossed Victorian lovers. Connie, a Seacroft lass, had gone off to the bright lights of Leeds to seek her fortune, only to find she missed the boy next door, so returned to reconcile with him while he was helping build the chapel. Amidst the debris, she persuaded him that rumours of her now being a fallen woman were grossly exaggerated, though confessed to a night out at City Varieties. It all ended happily, and they settled to raise a family in Seacroft. The second play, Pastures Green, was a monologue told by their great-granddaughter, May, who we may hear more of today, about her family's involvement with the chapel and playing the organ that still holds price of place here today. May told of being a land girl in World War II, but there were cracks in the veneer of her story that she eventually fixed and spent her widowhood living near the chapel. The third play today, Organ-ised, is set after May's death, focusing on her great-niece, Emily, a young would-be musician with a troubled past. May has bequeathed what little she had to Emily, but as we shall hear, it comes with strings, or more accurately, pipes, attached. Emily is played by Fiona Galloway, with Catherine Francis as Kate and Pam Hilton as May. There's also a guest appearance by Chapel FM's Peter Spafford as, well, Peter Spafford. The organ plays itself, though not literally.
organ. Oh, don't look at me like that, Peter. Flaming organ. That's all I meant.
Of course. Now, don't get upset, Emily. You'll be fine.
Fine. What? For a zombie in an apocalypse rave? Even they wouldn't be able to tell I'm out of tune. Oh, that's so...
You're too hard on yourself.
And you're too kind for your own good, Mr. Spiffin Spafford. You shouldn't bother with me and the craziness that old bat has got us into. I can't play anything anymore. Your lovely listeners will know turd when they hear it.
Not sure turd makes as much noise as you, and no smell over the radio.
I know you're trying to calm me down, but our late lamented Cruella de Vil did a right job on me, sentencing me to this organ. Sweet old lady, my ass, old Sado Biddy more like, her and her house. Might as well be made of gingerbread. The old witch has ensnared me, innit, till I get gobbled up.
Back to the zombies again.
Back to this effing organ. This is my monster. If she wasn't dead, I'd kill her. Nothing great about my great Auntie May. Bet she's up there now, listening and laughing.
She'd never.
Then maybe she's down there instead, sat with a toasting fork by the fireside with her new bestie, Lucifer, Lou, to his mates, telling him about the final joke she's played on me. And then maybe she's still here. If she was going to haunt anywhere, it would be Chapel FM. Or no. Or why did she do this to me?
Kate, hope you pick up this message soon. A crisis, yes, another one. To be honest, I'm not sure Emily can do it. Maybe the old girl wasn't as canny as she thought. She did go a bit dippy towards the end. And before you get going, I'm not suggesting she lacked legal capacity or anything when you drew up a will, but can you please get down here and talk Emily back to sanity?
So, he's sent for you, has he? Miss LLB, bring in the troops. Before you start, it's that old Wazzock's fault and this bloody organ.
I don't think you should blame my client or the organ.
Oh, your client. Bet she's inside it now, like Dracula in his coffin, out to get me.
May mentioned you were a bit of a horror film buff. It's clearly given you a talent for spooky imaginings and morbid melodrama.
But no talent for music.
That's not true.
Isn't it? She knew what she was doing. The evil crone.
By making you main beneficiary and residual legatee of her estate. Generous crone, more like.
Leave your up yourself legalese out of this. You and your words.
Words are my stock in trade. My words are me, just like your music is you.
What do you know about me and my music?
I know it brings you alive. May told me.
Oh, yeah. Bet she's cackling into her cauldron up there, hearing how she used your words to stitch me up.
Anyone cackling into their cauldron is unlikely to be up there. And as for stitching you up, you can just walk away if you want.
Where would I go? It's my home now.
Then lucky you. May liked you living with her in her last years. Now she's left her house to you. A bit of gratitude wouldn't go amiss for such a bequest.
There you go again. Bequest, bequeath, covenant, conditions, words to shackle me and to this effing organ.
This effing organ was her great love. That knew for some reason. Well, I advised her as best I could.
So, was it your idea? The organ thing.
The organ thing. Oh, that's your generation all over.
My generation?
Talking about my... Oh, forget it. You just can't see, can you? It's about graft. Just look at the organ thing. Really look at it. Silvery pipe, so solid, so set. The craftsmanship, the labour. They knew what they were doing back then. Wordsworth and Co. built it over a century ago, embedded it here and into the chapel's history and into everyone who's heard it play ever since.
You think I don't know?
May grew up listening to it every Sunday, even wanted to learn to play herself. But that wasn't for a girl back then, certainly not one who'd to leave school early and pay away.
Not like my generation.
If the cap fits. But then for May, there was also the war.
Oh, I know all about the war. May's wonderful days as a land girl, single-handedly defeating Hitler with every turnip she unearthed.
She did go on about that a lot. Probably the most exciting thing to happen to a working lass from Seacroft back then. When it was over, she got married. Women weren't expected to do much more in those days. After she was widowed and arthritis set in, she never did get round to learning to play. But she was relieved when LFM took over the chapel. Their grant money saved it, and the organ. She just wanted to make sure it kept on being played.
But does that have to be by me?
If you want to inherit the house. To be honest, I would have gone with a legacy to the cat's rescue. But May always went her own way.
Thanks a lot.
It's her you should thank. And there's only one way you can do that now. Play the organ, then the house is yours.
Then you'll have me. Signed, sealed and delivered.
Provided the terms of the will are met. To the letter.
Letters and words. That's all there is for you.
But not for you. For you, there are notes. Only at the moment, not necessarily in the right order. Sorry, showing me age with that one.
Not funny.
Mr. Andre Preview thought so too. Back in the day, we were crossing our legs at that one. Best Morecambe and Wise in sketch ever.
Morecambe and who?
Oh, forget it, youngster.
Okay, boomer.
Remember what I said about graft, labour, craftsmanship. You can't always just swan through with your talent. Just concentrate on getting things in the right order. Like I do with words, only your notes make music. And that's what May wanted, to hear the music. And if she really were haunting the chapel, she wouldn't leave until she heard it from you.
My music went a long time ago when I dropped out.
But May picked you up and wanted to put you back in.
There was stuff.
I know.
Did she tell you? She promised she wouldn't tell anyone.
She hinted at some trouble. But I'm a solicitor. We're discreet. Client confidentiality.
Yeah, Miss Swanky Pants LLB. No wonder you don't rate a mess up like me.
We all do wrong sometimes. I've seen a lot worse go through the courts. Just pick yourself and your notes up and put them in the right order. May said you were born for music.
She said that?
Yes. And even a Ms. Swanky Pants LLB like me can see it. Though I don't quite hear it just now. You know, I grew up around here as well.
You did? Seacroft?
That's how I knew May. Why, she came to me about her will. I owed her a debt, like you. She loaned me the money for law school many years back.
Oh, she never said anything, Kate.
Said she could skeg I wanted a bit more than a factory or a shop job, as it was back then for a girl from round here.
She could skeg a lot sometimes.
So there was more to people than met the eye. Could have done with her in some of my cross-examinations.
Well, she could see all right, even when the glaucoma set in. And she helped a lot of people.
especially girls. No daughter of her own. Wanted us to have more to life, she said, because she'd seen there could be more. Then she told me her land girl stories all over again.
She really did need to get out more.
But you can get out, Emily. Stuff or no stuff.
Can I? Can I really?
We all can. Remember, it's just about getting things in the right order. I got her cart back on the rails, Peter, for now at least. You don't think she took anything?
I hope not, Kate. She's been through a lot, poor kid.
Not such a poor kid. If she can conquer this block or whatever it is, at least she'll get the house then. She just has to be strong. After all, it's a tough world out there. You have to take it on.
Like you did. But she's not you, Kate. Or May either. She's Emily, and she needs her own nurturing.
Seacroft is not always known for its nurturing.
Times have changed since you grew up here.
But how much? I know what it's like to come from a town that's mainly a council estate. Your address is hardly a calling card.
But you move in different circles now.
I still believe Seacroft's a great place, though it always feels so strange to come back, like it's got smaller. There I was in the 1980s, me and my satchel at Foxwood, back combing my hair as big as I could, and watching them film the Beiderbecke Fair in the school canteen. But that's another building they've pulled down. God knows how they've managed to keep the green amidst the inner cityness, where Wesley preached and started the chapel in the first place, overlooked by the Cricketer's Arms. How twee is that? Though perhaps not so twee if you've ever been in it.
Life's often a paradox.
Like a musical prodigy turning up to play the organ here. If she can ever get her confidence back. It broke me to see Emily fall into depression.
It hits so many young people these days. Why we've done so much work on mental health and got the Love Arts Award for it.
Miracles can happen, even in Seacroft. Always makes me laugh to think this town goes all the way back to the Doomsday Book. But then that referred to it as waste wood, like even William the Conqueror had it in for Seacroft. Yet when my parents got married here in the 60s with their brand new council house, they saw it as state of the art. The civic centre, gleaming concrete buildings, a library. I wouldn't have been me if there hadn't been that library. Just couldn't stop reading. You know how it is. Words do that to you.
I know how it is. That's why I was keen to start the Writing on Air Festival.
Old May thought you and the team were amazing with what you did with this place. Never that keen on the shopping centre, though. Town centres turned into Tesco's, she said. Well, it is pretty huge. Wouldn't have been so bad if they'd refurbished the estate as well. But so many houses just got boarded up. The elderly took to the high-rises because they were harder to break into. Well, I've certainly creamed up when it comes to older clients here. A new will to attest every day over at Queensview. But now it's time to protect the young. You've watched the crime statistics.
It will get better.
But it's down to the likes of Emily. They're the ones that will have to do it.
She'll be all right. A kid with a good heart and a pocket load of talent.
Hate you, stupid organ. I'm going to carve you up into little pieces and bonfire you. Oh, hell, why can't I play? Sitting here trying and trying. All Auntie May's fault. but I know what she'd say. A bad workman always blames his tools. Crikey. It's like she's got into my head now, watching and blaming me. And I know everything she'd say. God helps those who help themselves.
Only not to happy-faced so-called sweeties in bottles of vodka.
Auntie May, are you really here?
Didn't I tell you I'd always be here for you? Right from when you lost your mother in that accident when you were a bairn.
But you can't be here. Oh, I'm so tired. It's doing my head in.
You're doing yourself in, so don't come crying the poor tale.
Are you in the pipe somewhere? How are you speaking to me? And if it really is a poor tale, Dad, and what I did.
It's never so bad, our Emily. Though I can't say so much for that clatter you just played. You'll have angels complaining at that racket.
They won't see me as on their side, that's for sure.
There you go, beating yourself up again. But we all go wrong at some point. How would we learn to go right if we never went wrong?
But I wasn't there for Dad when he needed me. Everyone knows that.
Pay no attention to what people say or think, only to what you say and think. Remember your great-great-grandmother, Connie?
Seeing as she died a century before I was born, can't say I really do.
They called her all sorts, and all she did was go to Leeds. Sin City, they thought in those days. But she came back, found her old sweetheart right where you are now. Jem were a carpenter, and there's some good pedigree in that. Here he was, covered in sawdust, fitting the joists, when our Connie bursts in, tells him she's sorry and she will marry him after all.
And they all lived happily ever after.
No, because being a man, he takes no notice. Connie weren't having that. She clambers into the pulpit they used to have here, cries out, "Grace, faith, salvation," just like old Ranter Wesley himself. Then she says, "I confess." That got Jem's attention. "Here stand I, Connie Broadbent, or of Babylon and of Seacroft." That proper showed him up how stupid he was being, so he had to take her back and marry her.
And then they all lived happily ever after?
You know as well as me, lass. It's more, they all lived happily never after. But they lived, and that's what you do. You carry on living.
Except you didn't. You left me.
Our 94 next birthday. If that's not carrying on living, I don't know what is. So you carry on too. No running back to the happy faces, because they only end in tears. You had me thinking they were just a bag of spice to begin with.
Oh, I never meant...
Now you stay off that dodgy stuff, you hear? You don't need it. You've got music. That's all there is to it. Making your music, however it sounds, for others. And if you can play the organ, well, you are blessed. Like old Maestro Bruckner, all on his own up his Alps. What music he made. For God and the world, he said. And that's what you can do as well.
You make it sound so easy, Auntie May.
Nothing's easy, but you do it anyway.
And yes, you're right, Peter. It'll be okay. This place will help. Been a godsend for the young ones. Hardly where you expect to find an arts centre.
Well, we've a 99-year lease, so we're in it for the long haul. Somewhere to share new ideas and make things happen.
I was sceptical about those 2002 legal changes that kick-started things, but you've come far since starting in that dowdy room above the estate shops.
The good old boggart, where every window was broken to begin with. When we heard about the chapel, we knew it would do. No power, no heating, but tons of beauty. So we had the musicathon, the next generation music training. Some participants ended up in Japan, but it wasn't until the grants and fundraising took off that we could properly launch it.
And I hear the allotment round the back is blooming too. Big veg next?
Well, let me know if you're ever short of a cauliflower and I'll have a word with Elliot. That's something else that Emily could get involved with.
She's enough on her plate. Needs to knuckle down and get on with it.
Knuckles are probably the only body part she doesn't use in playing the organ. It's a demanding instrument.
Yet it was the first she played, according to May. She brought her along to the chapel as a child. Emily was always drawn to anything that could make a noise. Made a concerto out of her squeaky toys, May said. Well, the organist let Emily play around on it. Later, she learnt the piano keyboard at school and started to play the organ here sometimes. Of course, that was before she went to the College of Music, before her father became ill. I suspect May's thinking behind leaving Emily a house only if she played the organ once more was that doing that would break her block. Weirdest clause I've ever had to draft in a will, I can tell you. After her father's death, Emily shunned music. Ironic, because the last thing he wanted was to see her drop out of college and give it up. That's why he swore May to secrecy about his cancer, wanted to ensure Emily graduated, not come home and nurse him. But it got so much worse so quickly. He was in St. Gemma's before he'd told his daughter about the chemo. Then she blamed herself. After he died, May took her in and tried to rally her. But once Emily started on the drink and stuff, well, what could one elderly woman do? I think May thought somehow the organ could save her. But like you say, it's a demanding instrument. Then again, so was old May.
So don't you come it with me, young lady. Time to get on with things.
Can't believe I'm here arguing with an organ. Though if you were going to haunt anywhere, it would be in this, seeing as you always wear a windbag.
Windbag?
The organ has a wind chest, just like you.
You don't have to tell me about the organ, you chimney flute.
Forgotto.
Block flute.
So we're pulling out all the stops now, are we? Gravissima.
I can name as many as you, and anyway, you're hardly Vox Celeste.
And you're no Vox Angelica either.
No, we're all just Vox Humana in the end. But though you'll never be a soft Dulciana, I reckon you're the diapasons, the essence of it all, and never imitating any other sound. That's why I put that condition in the will. You're too good to stop playing.
Yet you've been moaning about my clatter. I just can't do it. If you really want it played, why don't you do it yourself? Because you can't. Because you're not here. Because you don't exist. And by the way, I've never believed in ghosts.
I don't care what you do and don't believe in, as long as you believe in yourself and music.
Music's my curse. Without it, I'd have been at home and known how ill Dad was. Then I'd made sure he got well. Instead, what if music's the touch of death? What if I play and someone else gets ill and vanishes too? Just like he did, then you did.
So that's it, is it? You're afraid to play. Yet you used to love the organ as a child. Anyone else would have gone for a common or garden piano. Not you. Fearless you were.
Not now. This organ is way too hard for me. Fingers on hold or it stops. And not just one keyboard, but two. And if that wasn't enough for brain and hands, your feet have work, the pedal board.
Makes you concentrate. Stops you brooding on everything else. That's why I chose that condition.
They talk about organ pipes speaking, but I don't think they'll ever had in mind a cranky old woman who'll never rest in peace.
I'll rest in peace when you're sorted. And I don't mean all that rubbish you used to get sorted with.
Don't do that anymore. Not once you found out they weren't sweets. I had to tell you. Greedy guts like you wanting to try one. Imagine what that might have done. But still, when I confessed you, turned so white that you look like a ghost already. Like I'd exercised the life out of you.
You've been watching too many of them horror films again.
Well, it scared the life out of me. And I decided there and then I'd be no zombie myself anymore. And it's so hard to go around the turn. So lonely.
That's why I'm here.
Or why my fogged up brain conjured you, more like. They say if God didn't exist, people would invent him. Well, maybe when people don't exist anymore, we reinvent them.
Invented or not, I'm here. Look, I know what'll cheer you up. Did I ever tell you about when I were in the land army?
No.
And that reminds me, Kate, I was going to dig out those old interviews we did with local residents when we first set up at the chapel. Part of preserving oral history.
We're all part of that in the end. I'll go see if Emily wants a cuppa.
Hey, that time in Northamptonshire, me in that big stately home.
Here we go again.
We all have a past. We don't all talk about it, but they've asked me to talk about it. Don't always remember things these days. I don't mean the past, that you can never truly forget, but they only just past. When you're old enough to forget that, you're old enough to have a real past. And that's when they want you on the radio. ELFM. East Leeds. Oh, I forget what the FM bit is. Flipping mad if they want me on it. Oh, take no notice of me rambling. It's chapel that matters. We went every week when we were kids. All those hymns and psalms. He maketh me down to lie in pastures green. So I'm here to tell you about the past, because I'm so old they reckon I must have one. Only sometimes I forget. Just when we're old enough to have lots to tell, we can't remember anymore. Except the chapel. Mam used to go. Her granddad Jeremiah helped build it. Blood, sweat and sawdust, great Nanny Constance used to say. Bit like part of our family.
I'm checking you're all right, Emily. Gosh, you look like you've seen a ghost.
No, just heard one.
Then the war came. The land army, Northamptonshire. Such a long way from Seacroft is Northamptonshire.
Is that May's voice?
You mean you can hear it too?
Certainly sounds like May.
Oh, so I'm not cracking up after all.
I liked it, to be honest. All that earth and stuff. Smelling of freedom.
Peter's sorting out some old interviews. Maybe he's put one with May on and he's listening to it over the systems.
Is that all it's been? A recording? But she answered back.
May always answered back.
Things get blown away. Like the future.
Just a recording. Look, I've got to go and make an office call, but I'll be back.
Just a recording.
Then the war was over. We got wed in this chapel. Just like Mam, Gran and great-gran Connie. No kids, but nice, steady. Just the two of us. Me own house. Someone looking after me. All those years until he died.
I'm glad you were happy, Auntie May.
I think she's going to be okay, Peter. Just overtiredness, maybe.
We all suffer from that at times. Bet your office hours are hardly 9 to 5.
But I'm a grafter. Suppose in a way that's my talent. Emily's is more the glimmering, fragile variety. Yeah, I think everything's going to be all right.
It came back. That empty land feeling. The past is a snaky thing. Slips away, then sneaks in the back garden when you're doing the sweet peas, wraps round you. The past catches up with us all in the end.
Tell me about it.
Yea, though I walk in death's dark vale. Is that how it has to be? Just because you're old? Shadow all the time? Said I was sorry. Not worth much, I know, but always worth saying.
I'm sorry too, Auntie May.
I'll be back. To the house and the garden and the chapel.
Maybe I'll be there then, living in your house, thinking of you.
Not too much of the past, though. Like I said, it's a snaky thing. Slips away, then sneaks back. It squeezes the life out of you.
Like when I remember Dad, how I wasn't there, too steeped in study, music.
There you go, blaming yourself again.
There you go, telling me off again.
Just get on with things. Let yourself play again.
This can't have been in your interview. Not unless you know a way to record the future. And I wonder if that would sneak up on us too and squeeze us to death. Oh, I can't go philosophising to some disembodied voice. Ghost of the organ. Well, this is no Phantom of the Opera. What of it they used to say? Avant! That's got you all quiet now. Oh, come on. What's the odd avant between friends? Relatives even. Come on, Auntie May. I didn't mean it. Don't avant. I miss you. Not even a ghost for company now. Bet this never happened to Hamlet. Alone. Is this where we all end up? Too much silence. Simon and Garfunkel can keep that sound. Lose someone and there's nothing louder than silence. Maybe that's why we need to fill it. By making music. Only I can't anymore. Oh, this organ just there. As if it's waiting in silence. But then what would it say? Play me, like in Alice in Wonderland. Eat me, drink me. I'm well and truly stuck down the rabbit hole. About as low as I can get. Good job I kept a few of the happy faces then. All I have to do is swallow. Then I'm out of it.
Emily? Emily? Wake up.
I need sleep.
Hardly a place to nap. What are these? These tablets on the floor. Emily, what have you done?
Leave me alone.
What have you taken?
Nothing.
Then why are the tablets on the floor?
Because I threw them down. Didn't take anything.
I should get you to A&E, just in case.
I didn't take anything. Couldn't. In the end.
You sure?
You calling me a liar? I didn't take anything. Ask Auntie May. Only even an old spook doesn't want to be with me anymore. She's gone.
But she's left you all she had,
I
provided...
know. Oh, don't I know?
It's not your music that's evil. Bad things happen to people, no matter how much we curse and kick. It's not giving up that matters. No one will get hurt if you play again. In fact, the opposite. People need to hear you. The world needs creative young people. Get yourself organised. No pun intended. Well, maybe just a small one. The point is, it's over to your generation.
Oh, so it is my generation now.
Get organised with others like you before we all go to hell in a bucket. You've got such talent. The music you bring will make a difference. And for what it's worth, I do believe you.
About the tablets or the ghost of Auntie May?
Maybe both. Look, I'll leave you to get on with it. I'll be downstairs if you need me.
The old aunt may have gone, but I bet there are always some ghosts in this place. Just think of all the births, marriages and deaths this chapel has witnessed, lives passing through. Now it broadcasts to town, country and world, our sounds and words in and on the air. Wouldn't it be a shame if we left only silence? And what if Auntie May really is still in this thing? If I play hard enough, maybe I can ring her out. What if it's all still in there? The past, the loss, the music, and that's how we keep it with us.
Anything wrong, Kate?
She was just a bit tired, that's all. But she's all right now.
Do you hear something?
Even better. She's starting to play. Definitely in the right order.
For wordy birds and whatsits, wherever you are, here on East Leeds FM.